asked my husband if my friend could join for once. He fake agreed and files divorce few days later. Sometimes we tend to fall in love with people who do not think of others, only themselves. It's just funny how a person can just show you how much they don't trust you but not say that in words. It's true when they say actions speak louder than words. And my husband's actions towards my request to invite my friend over. I didn't know that inviting my friend over would actually land me in hot waters and leave me a divorcee. Do you guys think he made the right decision by divorcing me? Because even now, I still don't understand the reason for being divorced. You can't tell me that you are divorcing me because I had invited my friend over to our house. Worst part, I didn't just invite her. I addressed it with my husband and requested if I could invite my friend. If he didn't want to, he should have said that he didn't want my friend over and declined my request. But I guess we think in different ways. I need some clearance on where I did wrong. I still remember the day I asked my husband if my friend could join us for dinner. I thought it would be a nice gesture, and my husband had always been supportive of my friendships. But little did I know that this simple request would set off a chain of events that would lead to the end of my marriage. You know, when I, female, 44, first met Matthew Cowell, my husband, male, 44, at work. Matt, that's what I call my husband, and I were working together. We first met when I had gone to the company, name withheld for safety purposes, for an interview. I was going to start a job in the accounting department. They were in need of a company's accounting manager, so I was a great fit. After I had passed my interview and was told to start working the following day, I was introduced to the financial department where Matt was also working. He was actually a chief financial officer, CFO, so he was the one who welcomed me to the team. I was so excited, I won't lie, but something had caught my eyes. As much as Matt was busy introducing me to the team, I was taken aback by his handsomeness and the way he was gentle with everything. He made sure that if he gives you information on something, he would be as smooth and gentle as it comes. He was well soft-spoken. He would make sure that everyone gets enough understanding of the information he was giving. After the welcoming, he volunteered to take me on a tour and showed me the space that I would be working on. I loved the way people or employees respected him and always paid attention to him when he spoke. He had that authorizing voice that makes one pay undivided attention when he speaks. He was so gentle and knew how to choose words when speaking to people. I enjoyed working with him. It was really fun. He's naturally a funny guy. I saw that on my first day of work and how other employees love and respect him. I heard that he could be arrogant if need be, but he loves his work and he is dedicated to it. Time passed. We became very good friends. He was very explosive, and he loved nature, which was something I found as something that we have in common. He loved going to mountains, hiking, and other nature activities. Our friendship was, I can call, a true friendship. We were so happy, we enjoyed each other's company, and we would visit different places. He would introduce me to restaurants or places that I didn't know about, and I would do the same. 6 months later, he confessed his feelings for me. At first, I was hesitant. I had just recovered from a very toxic relationship, so I was kind of not ready to move on. So I asked him to give me time to think because I wasn't sure if I wanted to be in any relationship again. Since that day, our friendship became weak. We would even avoid each other at work. I think he had thought that I would reject him. No lies, I also had feelings for him. Deep feelings for him, but my heart was scared. It was scared of the unknown. Yes, I trusted Matt, but not trusting enough to just bluntly accept his confession and be in a relationship with him. I first had to find out if I was ready and if I had healed enough to avoid finding myself and him getting stringed along, because I have a dark past that I didn't really heal from. After a month of avoiding each other, not talking to each other, he came to my workspace and asked to speak to me during lunchtime. Even a blind man would see the awkwardness that was between us. The tension. You would even cut it with a butcher knife. It was too high and unbearable because this person and I worked for the same department. So I agreed to speak to him. I had felt like the situation was long overdue and we had to end it at that moment. Since then, Matt and I started dating, and to say I was happy would be an understatement. I was glad that I had decided to give him a chance. Not every man is like my toxic and evil ex-boyfriend, so I gave him the benefit of the doubt. And he did prove that he was the man amongst men. He was loving, caring, supportive, and everything. I know that we had broken the company's code of conduct, but we couldn't help it. Our feelings for each other were too high. 5 months later, he proposed, then got married 2 months later. Still, everything was the same. Nothing had changed. I had doubts that maybe he would change when we get married, but he was still the same, and more. Instead, he was improving and becoming more of a married man. We had started talking about starting our own family and expanding his family name. He loves children, so we started the family planning process, which took us almost a year to finally get into a decision that we were ready and we had to try. We had been married for several years and had built a life together filled with love, trust, and shared aspirations. My marriage with Matthew was the type of marriage that every girl would dream of. We were each other's best friends. We shared everything and anything. We had a rule of always communicating, even if we were angry at each other. He made me believe that communication, trust, and loyalty are the 3 elements to successful marriages. And another thing, not changing who you are. Like trying to change because you are married, that destroys most of the marriages. Which is why they say marry your best friend, and Matt was my best friend. Well, I had found a friend at work. Her name was Rose, female, 39. Rose was like my baby sister. That's how I treated her. We became friends on my first day of work. She was very sweet and welcoming. She respected herself and carried herself like a queen. She didn't need anyone's validation to know that she was enough and beautiful. That's what I loved about her. And another thing with Rose is that she was a gossip monger. This girl knew everyone's business in the company. I would ask how and where she got information. She would only tell me that she doesn't kiss and cough her source. She was truly a diva, a dramatic one at that. But she made me settle well at work and enjoy the company. Well, I didn't know that Rose and Matthew actually knew each other on a deeper level. Rose never mentioned that, which was why I trusted her, and regarded her as my younger sister since I didn't have any sisters. What confused me was how they managed to act professional, and like nothing had once happened between them. I mean, the eyes speak louder than the mouth, but even when they would look at each other, it was just an innocent and professional look. So as time passed, I began to feel a sense of curiosity and a desire to explore new boundaries within my relationship with Matthew. One evening, after much contemplation, I decided to approach Matthew with an unusual request. I had approached him with excitement, hoping for his understanding and support. To my surprise, Matthew reluctantly agreed, but I could sense his hesitation. I asked him if my close friend Rose could join us in our intimate dinner, hoping to add a new dimension to our relationship. I mean, Matt and I had planned to have an intimate dinner with new styles, like we were going to have dinner under the stars, then have our intimate encounter to try out new things. So that's why I had asked if Rose could join us. I mean, she was going to go after dinner. It wasn't like she was going to be in our intimate session under the stars. So Matthew, initially taken aback, hesitated for a moment before faking agreement, not wanting to disappoint me or jeopardize our marriage somehow. Matthew should have told me that he didn't want me to invite Rose to our intimate dinner. I would have understood. I mean, he was my husband, and if there was something he didn't like, he would have told me that he didn't like 1, 2, and 3, not to just fake agreement. I had thought bringing or inviting Rose over would make them build a solid friendship relationship together because they were always professional with each other, and it was somehow boring. I wanted my husband to get along with someone who was my friend. That night, my friend Rose joined us, and we had a wonderful time together. We laughed, shared stories, and created memories. I felt a sense of joy and freedom I hadn't experienced in a long time. I mean, the 2 people that I loved were at one table, sharing a meal and flowing conversations. Rose also came with her +1, which made me settled because I thought it was going to be awkward if she had joined us alone. Little did she know that this innocent act would soon lead to a big mess. Little did I know that even the professionalism that they were busy acting was also fake. I was the one who was the fool in all of this, but I was the one who got divorced because I wanted to invite my friend over. I had hoped that maybe Matt would be honest with me since we had vowed to be honest with each other, but I guess I had thought wrong. I had trusted him and been honest with him with everything, even the smallest things. I have never hidden anything from him, but he managed to fool me and hide something like this from me. It really broke my fragile heart when I found out about Matthew's love secret. I mean, I had asked him before if he had never had a girlfriend at work or at least a booty call. He denied and told me that he took work very seriously and he treats every employee like family, so family doesn't date each other. What confused me was the fact that he said all that, but there we were. We dated and even got married while working together. Matthew's apparent acceptance concealed a deep sense of hurt and betrayal. I know that was how he felt because he doesn't want to share me with anyone. Inside, he struggled with feelings of inadequacy and insecurity, believing that he had failed to fulfill my desires and needs. Mind you, I didn't want to invite Rose over because of any desires, but I wanted them to get along. That would have made me happy that two people who were close to my heart got along. I didn't want them to be professional even outside work. He just couldn't shake the feeling that inviting Rose into our relationship was a sign of his own shortcomings. As days turned into weeks, the tension between me and Matthew grew. Our once solid foundation began to crumble under the weight of resentment and unspoken expectations. Our marriage became gloomy and dull. It was no longer the same. Our home was no longer a happy home. Not to lie, I was hurt by Matthew's behavior. My hurt had festered, fueling a growing sense of anger and betrayal. I had tried sitting down with him so we could talk things through and address the biggest elephant in the room. I asked him if he had any issues with Rose, and if he does, he should address them at that moment. He looked at my face and told me that he had no issues with Rose. It was just that he didn't like the idea of me planning to do something with him. Only then, suddenly I wanted to invite someone else. His excuse and explanation was lame and useless because he should have told me that. The time I was asking him if Rose could join us, but he decided to act like a girl and sulk like a baby being denied food. A few days later, after the bickering and daily arguments about Rose, he went out the whole weekend. He didn't come back home, and he was not even on any of my calls. When he came back, he told me that he was moving back to his mother's house, which came as a shocker to me because I had thought we were past the Rose issue. So I didn't understand why he would decide to go back to his mother's house. I knew there and then that Matthew was most definitely hiding something from me, and I had to find out. One day, I had asked to meet up with Rose. I felt like I needed to get to the bottom of everything before it was too late. I needed to find answers that Matthew was hiding. So I asked Rose if there was some sort of history between her and Matthew. And guess what the girl denied? She told me that Matthew was her senior and she respects him. She furthered by saying that she once had a love crush on him, but nothing happened, and she kept the crush to herself. I didn't believe that. Would you have believed it? A lot was not adding up on this story. I knew I had to find out before it's too late, not knowing that I was already too late. When I got home, I received a text from Matthew telling me that I should expect our lawyer anytime during the day. I didn't understand where lawyers interfere in our marital issues and why I should expect her. I tried calling him back, but it just went straight to voicemail. A lot was running through my mind, and I didn't know what to think, even though the thought of divorce did cross my mind, and it made me feel weak. The following day, Sonia, our family lawyer, female, 36, came through with Matthew. I got confused and felt like it may be something serious that made Matthew come to our marital home with our lawyer. Matthew then decided to break the ice and awkwardness. He told me that he had come with Sonia to give me divorce papers because he doesn't feel like being in an untrusting marriage. He felt like the request that I had made, it came to him as some sort of disrespect from me. We had been married for a couple of years and everything seemed fine. Sure, we had our ups and downs like any couple, but we always managed to work through our issues. What had happened to that? I just laughed. Like literally laughed because no sane person would divorce someone for asking for their permission to invite a friend over. No, something was amiss, and Matthew had to cough the truth out before I found it out myself. And it wouldn't be nice when I do. He continued telling me that he had actually lost interest in me and I needed to move on. He literally said, "I just don't feel the same way about you anymore." He told me that he had been feeling like that for a while and he couldn't keep pretending anymore. I couldn't believe it, He believed that our differences were irreconcilable and that it was best for both of us to move on. I got so devastated, realizing that my innocent request had led to the end of our marriage. At first, I just laughed it out, but when he told me that he had lost interest in me, that hit deep and it broke my heart. I tried to apologize to him for my behavior and told him that I would change and be the wife he wants. I explained that my intention was never to hurt him, but for him to connect with the person that I had considered my sister, so that they can be civil towards one another and find a better balance between my friendships and our marriage. I had believed that our relationship was strong enough to weather any storm, unaware of the depth of my painful, fragile heart. I had tried desperately to salvage our marriage, pleading with him to reconsider. but it was too late. Matthew had reached a breaking point, and his trust in our relationship had shattered. He had made up his mind, and there was no way to change it. The news of Matthew's intentions blindsided me, and it broke me to the core. As I was still in pain because of the bomb that Matthew had dropped, he then decided to drop another bomb, the one that left me shattered. He said that he believed that since I had prioritized my friend's company over our own time together, was a clear sign that our marriage was no longer a priority for me. He told me that he had lied to me about Rose and he was sorry. I waited for him to continue. He then told me that Rose and Matt were once engaged and things didn't end well between them. He furthered his confession by telling me that Rose was part of the past that he had wanted to forget, not knowing that it would somehow find its way to catch up with him. I couldn't believe his revelation, as much as it was breaking my heart, but it was making me furious at the same time. I was enraged at the fact that he had lied to me when I asked if they had some kind of history with Rose. On another hand, Rose also lied to my face that nothing had happened between her and Matthew, meaning I was actually a fool in all of this. The two knew each other, which means maybe they told each other to lie to me. I was left shattered, heartbroken, enraged, and depressed. They left the envelope with divorce papers for me to sign them. I just couldn't bring myself to do that. I loved Matthew, and I still love him. I had hoped that maybe we would one day be able to sit down and sort out our issues, so we would be back to the way we were. I still believed that someday Matthew and I would somehow find ourselves in love again. But I guess it is what it is. In the days that followed, I was in a daze. I couldn't believe that my marriage was ending like that. I felt like I had been punched in the gut, unable to catch my breath. As I had faced the reality of my actions, I realized the gravity of my mistake. I had underestimated the fragility of trust and the importance of open communication within a relationship. My desire for exploration had come at a great cost, and I was left to grapple with the consequences of my choices. I just couldn't help but blame myself for the dissolution of our once loving marriage. But as the days passed, I began to see the signs. The way he had been distant, the way he had stopped touching me, the way he had stopped communicating with me. It all made sense now. He had been checking out of our marriage a long time ago. He should have told me that earlier before I even asked him to invite Rose over. But no, he decided to wait until I requested to invite my friend over so he can use it as an excuse for divorcing me. In the aftermath of my divorce with Matthew, I had decided to seek guidance from friends, family, and even professional counselors. I embarked on a journey of self-reflection, learning valuable lessons about the importance of honesty, trust, and understanding in relationships. Through this process, I discovered a newfound appreciation for the complexities of love and the necessity of nurturing a deep connection based on mutual respect and transparency. While the wounds of my failed marriage remained, my experience served as a humbling reminder of the consequences that can arise when boundaries are crossed and trust is broken. I then vowed to carry these hard-earned lessons forward, striving to build healthier and more meaningful relationships in the future. I had emerged from the painful chapter of my life with a renewed sense of self-awareness and a newfound commitment to personal growth. I understood that the choices we make in relationships can have far-reaching consequences, and that trust, once broken, is not easily repaired. I still think that Matthew took a very drastic decision to file for a divorce because of my request to invite Rose. Sure, Rose and Matt had a past, and I was deceived to think that they had no past while they did. But I still believe that we would have tried to find a way to overcome all the obstacles that we were facing. But who am I to change a made-up mind of an old man like Matt? Some of the days I would just look at his contact number and contemplate with myself if I should call him or not. I missed him so much, and I wished that maybe we would at least get a chance to iron out our issues so we can both move on freely. My heart still longed for him. I needed him by my side like he always did. It was really hard for me. Yes, the counseling and therapy helped with physical pain that I was feeling, but not the emotional part. Redditors, please help me here. Please help me understand what really had gone wrong in my marriage. Was it really me? Was I the cause of my fallen marriage? Because it was really hard to believe that Matthew had really lost interest in me. I mean, he loved me so much for that. Or he didn't. I don't need any judgments. I am a desperate, confused divorcee who still longs for her husband. Please give me advices on how do I deal with this? How do I cope with the heartbreak? My heart still bleeds for him. What should I do?